Hello and welcome to the Night Watch. I'd like to talk to you about streaming services since so many of us have been in various states of lockdown and quarantine and social isolation, social distancing, a lot of time to watch all of our favorite shows and discover new ones, movies, episodes, and everything you could imagine. Finally, we have some sports events as well. So streaming has become a very important part of my life, and I'm sure it's become a very important part of your life as well. I suppose it always was, but now it's at a whole new level, and I'm so much into it that pretty much throughout the last few months of complete quarantine lockdown, that's pretty much all I would have time to do is watching shows and creating content. So in any case, I have pretty much all of the major platforms you can imagine. Amazon Prime, for example, video, also Apple TV, all the various content available there. Netflix, of course, HBO, Showtime, UFC, ESPN Plus. I really have just about everything you could imagine. And I run it all through Apple TV, and I know there's various ways to stream the content. And my personal preference, I use Apple TV as the streaming platform. So in any case, I want to talk to you a little bit about just my personal perspective on what I find to be the most intuitive and really just the most entertainment and engaging of all. So first of all, I'm really into Amazon in all ways, constantly buying products through Amazon. I'm very loyal to that company at a very deep level, just based on years and years of excellent customer service. And while I really do enjoy a lot of their original content, they've got some great original shows. For example, The Expanse, I really enjoyed that series, and hopefully there'll be another season out before too much longer. And just a lot of great original content. Zero was another series that they recently had that I watched, and it just went way too quick. So some incredible original content on Amazon. Their platform, for me at least, streaming it through Apple TV, I would say it's not as organized and intuitive as I would like. It's a bit harder to find content, a bit harder to search. A lot of the selections that I choose, if I want to, for example, rent a movie through Amazon Prime, I have more challenges in successfully being able to rent the movie and kind of navigating through various screens and finding, how do I pay for it? Even though I'm all set up to pay for everything on Amazon, it seems like it's improved recently. There must have been an update of some sort, but I have at times decided, rather than Apple TV, to rent a movie on Amazon Prime Video, and haven't been able to do it, just running into various types of obstacles, glitches, whatever they may be. And also, I don't find as much original content, at least that appeals to me, as I do on some other platforms. So while I really appreciate the original content of Amazon being top-notch, as far as the platform itself, I think it has a lot of room for improvement as far as organization of the content, and as far as being intuitive, easier to search and find what you're looking for, and also suggesting content based on your viewing history that is most applicable to your personal interests. So I'm not really finding that, at least through Apple TV, on watching Amazon's content. So moving on to Apple TV, which I've used since the beginning. So really just a very intuitive layout and platform, very easy to search for and find content, especially with the voice recognition feature in the remote control of Apple TV, which of course you can use on other platforms as well. That's not limited to Apple TV, but that plus just a very intuitive interface, being able to find kind of the most recent episodes of shows. I do find it a little bit hard to search for movies. There are so many movies available, and for whatever reason on Apple TV, it does seem a bit challenging to just find the vast assortment of almost infinite movies that are available through Apple TV. However, I really have to kind of dig to find movies. It's almost better to run a search, but browsing seems quite limited to a certain number of choices, not really unlimited, but quite finite. So you really have to run searches to find videos. But as far as TV episodes, I find that very intuitive, very easy to find. Most recent episodes, recommended. as far as various seasons and new shows that come out and season premieres and so forth. So I would say Apple TV rates very high in my opinion, in terms of just usability, user experience, engagement, organization. The one shortfall would just be finding movies, unless they're just released top movies. They're easy to find, but if you're looking for something that's been around for a few years or more, you really have to dig a little bit, run some searches, which isn't really that hard. Not much to complain about, but it's not really just at your fingertips. It takes a little bit more effort. And if you do the manual type and search, using the remote control on Apple TV, that does take a little bit of time, especially if it's a longer movie title, but manageable nonetheless, and I use it constantly. So that would be my perspective on Apple TV. Now, Apple TV Plus, which came out recently, has some really great content, in my opinion. So depending on what content you're into, personally, I found a few series that I enjoyed. Servant was one. At first, it didn't sound like something I would like, but as I watched it, I really got into it. Unfortunately, I just flew through those episodes pretty quick, and now it's finished. I don't know when season 2 will be out. A lot of unanswered questions, but that was a really great original series by Apple. And also Scene, I really enjoyed. At first, I wasn't quite sure if I was into it. I became very into it and flew through all of those episodes waiting for the next season. And that's about it. There are a lot of other episodes and new content within Apple TV Plus that personally hasn't appealed to me yet, but I'm sure it appeals to a lot of you viewers out there. So there's just such a limited selection at this point because it's so new. But the selection that they do have, I think there's probably at least a couple shows for everybody out there that would, including content for kids and whatever you're into, you'll probably find 1 or 2 seasons that you're into. And after that, you might just have to wait for whatever's coming next. So moving on to Netflix, which, just to put this out there first, I would have to kind of put in first place in terms of just their interface. I find to be so amazing and intuitive. And really, Netflix seems to know exactly what I want to watch and when I want to watch it. So somehow they're collecting all the right data because they just know how to put right in front of me, easy to find, right at my fingertips without having to do much searching. Either continue where you left off, which is great. So when you're watching an episode and you pass out halfway through it at 2 a.m, or just get busy, take a phone call and move on to other things, and a week later you jump back in there, you can very easily see what you haven't finished watching, whether it be a season or an actual episode. So that's a great feature, and just being able to associate content that you've enjoyed and that you've watched with other similar content. So I find that to be a really good interface. I think there's a way to turn off the feature where it auto plays, but sometimes it's a little bit challenging as you're searching to have everything that you pause on every episode or movie start playing kind of a trailer automatically. I kind of like it when I'm into it, but sometimes I just want to browse and I might be doing 2 things at once, multitasking, and suddenly it's playing that trailer automatically, which I do believe you can turn that off. I'm not 100% sure. I think you can. I've left it on. I don't love the feature, but sometimes I guess it's a love and not love relationship. So sometimes it's great. Sometimes it's a bit annoying. But overall, their interface is just truly amazing, very intuitive, easy to navigate. It's very rare on Netflix that I ever have to type in the name of a title. There are a few times when I do, but for the most part, I can just browse with the Apple TV remote and very easily find just about anything and everything that I'd ever want to watch. Also, they've got just a ton of original content, both movies, and I've enjoyed a lot of the original content in terms of movies, and also individual seasons for just a vast array of different types of content of all sorts. So Netflix has been great in all ways. Also, it's extremely affordable. So great price point. I know a lot of viewers are from various places all around the world, and the price seems to vary a bit by area. And I think wherever you're at, most likely their price seems to be adjusted based on the economy you're in and kind of cost for similar type of service. So overall, I think it's pretty affordable for everybody everywhere. And what you get for your money and just unlimited content You can watch it on your smartphone, you can watch it on your computer, watch it on your television. Very accessible, easy to use, and so much content. So Money Heist is another season that at first I wasn't sure I'd be into, but I've ended up just being a really dedicated follower of that show, and been through all the seasons and can't wait for the next one. The most recent season seemed to go pretty quick. Seemed like there were fewer episodes and just went way too fast. So I'm hoping the next season has more content and more episodes. So I would say, in my personal opinion, Netflix wins. If I had to choose one that I just can't live without, of those three that I just touched on, I would definitely have to go with Netflix as my first choice. If I was able to choose two, it would definitely be Netflix and Apple TV. And third, I would say that Amazon Prime Video would certainly be third in place. So some of the more specialized platforms, for example, the UFC app that you can subscribe to and watch UFC events, pretty affordable monthly if you're into it, and you can replay a lot of the pay-per-view events a few days later for free. So, what's been great about one of the hidden benefits of quarantine and social isolation and being essentially on lockdown around the world, as I know many of us have been, is when there are live events, for example, UFC professional competition events and pay-per-view, I don't really hear who wins the events. No one's going to tell me, oh, did you see that fight and this is who won. So I can wait a couple days and watch the replay on the UFC app by subscribing, and I pay a very small monthly fee for that. And instead of paying the pay-per-view fee, I just pay a flat monthly subscription fee and watch all of the pay-per-view UFC events a few days later, and it's just like it's live, since I never heard who won. Of course, if you follow the news, then you might know who won, and it won't be quite so exciting. And really, that would be a quick snapshot on everything. I think as far as Apple TV Plus, it has great potential. It's nice that there's integration with various other subscriptions. So depending on what part of the world you're in some areas it's not available, but in some areas it is. So you can subscribe through Apple TV Plus to HBO, for example, Showtime, Stars, and various other networks for really a reasonable monthly fee. And what's great about subscribing to those various networks through Apple TV is it's not just a single user access, but it's like a family access. And I believe you have approximately 5 users per network. So you can subscribe to Showtime, for example, or HBO through Apple TV Plus, and you can give access to up to 5 people which are in your family, which it's not that you have to provide proof of relation. So really, it's your family and friends can have access up to 5 people, which is really, really great. Whereas if you subscribe directly to HBO or Showtime, it's like a single user subscription, which means just one person's logged in at once. If you subscribe to the exact same network through Apple TV Plus, what's really cool about that is that you can give up to 5 people access to it. I believe the number's 5. I can't promise, pretty confident though it is. So up to 5 people have access to it simultaneously in different houses in different countries, wherever they may be. The only challenge is some of those subscriptions don't work in some countries. And so because of that, you do have to make sure that you're in an area where it works. They do have trials. You can subscribe to HBO or Showtime or Stars, for example, and do a trial. I think it varies how long the trial is. Usually it's around 7 days. Sometimes might be a bit longer or shorter, and make sure it works in your area. And if not, then you can cancel it through that platform without having to pay. So that's just an overview on streaming platforms. I am at a point now where I really do need everybody to start making new content. I'm sure we all do. The good news is it seems that Hollywood is resuming and should be putting out new content soon. I'm starting to run low on things to watch, even in Netflix, which is almost unlimited. And I really don't tend to rewatch shows. So I think we're all ready for new seasons, new episodes, new movies. Netflix has really done a good job of continuing to generate a lot of new content throughout the recent lockdowns, and with everything shut down, they've still rolled out some great new shows, some great new movies. In fact, Amazon has come out with very little, it seems. Apple TV has released not a whole lot. but there has been enough to kind of keep you busy. But Netflix really has put out just, kind of a lot of content, just enough. It's not an overabundance, but just enough to kind of keep everyone engaged, I think, throughout this quarantine and isolation time that we've all been in recently. If you have any questions about any of these subscriptions, please post it as a comment. I'd love to reply. Remember to subscribe if you're interested in this content and other content that we have available. Please click on the subscribe button on the bottom of the screen on the right side, and also click the bell. Click all so you receive notifications when we have new content. Thank you so much for joining this episode of The Night Watch.